Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be going over a teaching game I played against one of my students. It was a 6-stone game against one of my students who is roughly 4Q, 5Q. We're still trying to figure out exactly. And this is AGA 4Q, 5Q. But yeah, I played a game with them and I wanted to review it, and so all you can see the game. So let's jump right in. So approach, and I'll talk about kind of the big picture things of this game as the game progresses and at the end. But for now, let's just jump in. And again, the key in the opening, if you're a Q player, or even any player really, but specifically Q players, is stay on josekis. Stick to things you know. Don't try to get too freeform early on. So, again, everything black does here is totally fine, right? The key is there are so many options here that it's just good to know what each option means, right? Like, black could have just backed off. Well, so do you know the difference between kicking and then jumping high compared to just backing off? So you just need to have a kind of an intrinsic idea of what each joseki means, because it'll affect how you'll play the game going into the middle game. So black kicks and comes up, and then I play here. Obviously these two stones at some point need a base, but I don't really want to make a base like this, right? It's a little too cramped. So I'm gonna play here, and notice I'm kind of getting around the board. And the idea with kind of jumping around the board like this, let me just play a few moves like this, is while, yes, I am outnumbered, look what I'm starting to do with the board, right? We have a white stone here in the upper left. We have a black group in the upper right. Then we have these white stones here, black stone here, white stones here, black stones here, and white stone here. So the idea is I'm trying to split black up. Or at least start to make black feel disconnected. Now again, are these two stones going to be enough to prevent this stone from connecting to the corner? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just starting to be kind of an annoyance, a disturbance to their connection. And another thing to note about this kind of way of playing is I'm not expecting to save all these groups. A lot of players that try to split up like this, they try to save everything. But that's not how you want to play. So you'll see that I'm very okay with giving up some stones here and there. So even though I played all the stones on the right side, I play in the upper left. And then black connects. Again, at this stage, really a lot of josekis are more preference than everything. Or than anything. But here, so I could connect at E18, but here I like to take the corner. And here black decides to choose this joseki. Again, as long as you stay on joseki, it's fine. This is totally fine. Another way black could play, because notice black ends up playing at E18 anyways. So black could also think about just playing E18. Now, if black plays E18, I like to just take like this. Black can play here. Black doesn't have to play here necessarily, but if you go elsewhere, then you have some cutting issues. So it's okay to play this kind of move because it is Sente. It threatens to Atari here, so I'll Hane. And then black can go elsewhere. But I do like this for white because, yes, I've scooped out the corner, and two, there's Aji with moves at F18. And Aji not immediately, but obviously this shape point should be something that both players are thinking about. So that's why I kind of like this joseki. Now, a lot of players do like to do this one too, which again is totally fine. The reason why I am not the biggest fan of it is When black stands up, black is completely connected. Like there's no way for me to push through here as long as black can save at b17. Notice I run out of liberties. And if I end up just capturing or taking at some point, then black can fix easily by playing some move like this. Another way black can play is to descend directly and then go here. So the idea with this is it forces white to play here, and now you can squeeze by playing the clamp here. Now white has two choices. White can just capture, but then black gets this Atari, and black gave up an extra stone, but now black's shape is super solid. Even you add an extra move, like black's outside is very solid. White can also choose to try to not get squeezed, but you can actually net this. And directly this isn't sente, but it means it doesn't matter where white goes next. White could do anything. This move becomes sente, and this move becomes sente. And notice black's wall. It is impenetrable. There's no weaknesses with it. So no weaknesses means strength. So this is about as strong as you can get for a wall. So white generally wants to push first somewhere, but again, because white has to come back and capture, it's not too dangerous for black. Just connect. So that's why I kind of like just taking off this stone here, because black's outside doesn't get as strong. But in the game, black goes here. And this is black's first mistake, is black goes here. And the reason it's a mistake is it's too slow at this stage. Like you can go anywhere on this board at this point. Now maybe black was thinking, okay, if I go elsewhere, white can hane, and if white extends, right, there's some, I'm getting split up all of a sudden. And that is true. So the question is, what is an efficient way to fix this weakness here? Well, there's a few options. One, you can preemptively help the upper side group. So if white does something like this, you can just back off. And because you already have the stone at J17, these 4 stones are much stronger. Or you could play a move like this, that we're imagining, okay, if white does this, now all of a sudden this stone is perfectly capturing that white stone. So yeah, this move has a lot more potential than this move. Again, you are keeping white from coming into the left, but that's all it does. And again, if black wanted to make that happen, black could have played it now, because now it is sente. Now white has to capture, and now black could go elsewhere. But black wanted to seal white in both ways, which was gote. So again, not the smallest move, but there is a more efficient way of fixing that weakness. So again, my big 3s for every move: sente, shape, efficiency. So if you think about good shape, think about your opponent's shape as well. Try to see if you can make it bad or kind of harass their shape. If you think about sente, that's, if you play a sente move, it can almost never be bad for the most part. And then efficiency. If you can find a move that does more than one thing, that's better than a move that does just one thing or even 2 things. So this move, you can see gote and inefficient. So yeah, not the best move. But so far, for a 4Q playing a 6-dan, nothing to be, upset about. So I play here, and then black plays towards the bottom. So again, I'm not going to be like, okay, well, I got to save this stone now, because then, okay, I have made these stones heavier. Now I have to save these. So I try to change the board kind of somewhere else, and then I can decide if I want to save the stone on the bottom. So I play a p18. This works really nicely with k17, where even if black separates me here, I can take the corner. And you can see black's starting to be a little isolated and not have a base. So that's why black just plays the 3-3. And then I can come back. And you can see that works really nicely with my stone at k17. But black says, okay, I have Sente again. Let me jump up. So I like what black's doing so far. Yeah, black is, besides maybe b15, black is very good at looking at the big picture. So then I play here. So again, black is close to being alive, but I want to put pressure on this group, because if I can put pressure on the upper right group, I can then think about putting pressure here. So if you look though, if black were to play a move something like this, this helps strengthen black's stones but weakens white. So something I'll always say, and if you've seen my other videos, you've heard me say this countless times, is the strength of stones is relative to their nearby enemy stones. So if black gets stronger on the right side, white becomes weaker. But just by adding this one extra stone, once white gets stronger, black gets weaker. So these, the upper right black group and this black stone here, get weaker. So that's why whenever they say like, oh, getting the first move in an area that's kind of unfinished or there's a fight going on, that's very important. That's why. It has to do with the strength of both sides groups. So yeah, black says, okay, let me live. And here, this move I'm not a big fan of, because there's something else I always say is assume Sente is always Sente. So for example, black would basically always answer this. And so if black's going to answer that, I don't think Q18 is the best way to fix, because white can still like Hane here. Now the reason why white doesn't do that is in some cases, white wants to peep on the other side at p15. So white only wants to play p17 if white has to. So that's why white wasn't doing it directly. So instead of this kick here, I like just Haneing and connecting. Very simple. And you can see this is creating a cutting point here. And so white really can't try to kill if there's a cutting point here. And even if there's a white fixes, if you play a move at like S11, again, you can protect your group by attacking white, which basically means white really can't think about attacking or killing you when white has to worry about their own strength. And again, when white gets weak here, black gets stronger here, which means white gets weaker in the lower right. So that's why these kind of close-up fights are so important. So black goes there, and then Hane, and then Atari. And yeah, black could just connect, but then if black connects, then I'm going to play some move to start to surround the right side. So black actually says, let's fight. Let's start a ko. And if you look at this board, then I go here. Yeah, if you look at this board, there's potential for this. Now here, I think I should just connect. This is more or less Sente. Black has to connect here. And then I can still play back like this. Potentially. Nah, maybe not. It's hard to say because, yeah, it's hard to say. This at least keeps the right side interesting. You'll see what happens in the game. In the game, I'm like, okay, well, I would like to cut directly, but I need to have a co-threat that's big enough. And looking at this board, do you see one? Again, all of black's stones are very solid. And even if I have one, like let's say, black answers this. The black has this co-threat here, which, I could ignore, but that is quite big in the upper left. That is quite big. Black still has co in the upper right. Like it's tough. So here's a concept that's good to know is you could fight a co before actually starting the co, if that makes sense. So right now I don't have co-threats, but I can play as if I'm fighting the co. So that's why now I attach. And so the idea is, depending on how black will play, will black give me more co-threats? Well, if black gives me co-threats, then I can fight the co. But if black plays very passively, then maybe I can just fill here, and I've already gained something with this co-threat. So this is kind of looking for co-threats. And black knows that. So black actually takes the ko, Ahane, and then black takes and finishes the ko. So black, very solid and most likely going to capture these 3 stones. But I was very happy with this because I can... Where do you think white played next? What looks like a nice spot to play on this board? I went to E14. Again, that was the shape point. When I was going over the variations for the upper left, that was the shape point I said, yeah, you want to be thinking about, but you can't do it like too soon. Well, now's the perfect time. I got a stone at D11, so there's a nice connection here. And again, if black was silly, black would try to save everything. But black realizes, okay, I've already gained something in the upper right, so I can't expect to gain everything back in the upper left. So black just attaches, saying, okay, white, if you want the 3, you can have it. So Hane. And black actually cuts. So I Atari, and then Atari again, and then connect. So black cuts, and then Atari's through. So I wonder if there is a better way for me to play this. Like, what if I just pull back here? I wonder if this is better. Because I do end up in the game allowing black to capture F15. Because it looks like if we do the ladder, it'll be okay for white like this. Because even if something like this happens, there's the double Atari on the outside. But instead, black has enough liberties to just Atari down like this. So I can't do that. So I just actually went elsewhere. Just extended. And again, if black wants to spend a move to take here, again, it's gote for both sides. So if black wants to do this, I get 2 moves elsewhere. But the flip side is if I take that, it's also gote. So, yeah. And directly it's probably sente, because if we get into this variation, I take away that liberty. Right? But the question is, do I want to force black to take here? Right? Play something like this. Do I want to force black to do that? It's probably Aji Keshi. So I wanted to leave that Aji potential. So black attaches. Again, this move is so good. So because black is realizing, okay, there's some Aji with this cutting stone. So even if I don't directly pull it out, yeah, I have options of, what if I just pull back like this? All of a sudden, black only has 1 eye. Now again, right now, black can run out and black could maybe capture here, but it's a problem black has to deal with. So I just went elsewhere, but black decided to resolve it. So this is very, very smart. Even double Hane, and I didn't see a great response. I was just like, okay, I just gotta fix. And here, I think black should just connect. Again, black gained so much on the right side that black doesn't need to do anything too crazy. Black just needs to settle their weak groups. But in the game, black decides to be proactive and kick here, and then come down. But I can cut. And this cut starts to really make black's shape uncomfortable. Now here, I think black should actually just pull back like this or save the stone. Because it starts to make eyes up top, and of course it's a cutting stone, so white still needs to save J16. Even if white pushes, you can't block because of the cut, but you can simply just like pull back like this, and again, white still cannot capture the stone. Yeah, so I think this black should have saved the stone. In the game, black decides to sacrifice, which is not a terrible idea. But now we start to get some problems in black's shape. A lot of problems. Just for example, like if black connects, white actually has this ladder now. And if something like this happens, sure there's a ko here, but like I think white already gains a bunch if black has to connect here and gote, right? That's so painful. So, yeah, that's why black doesn't connect. If black does something like this, sure, that fixes, but it's very slow. So black tries to go here. Again, this is good reading. Black's reading, okay, if white pulls the stone out, then it doesn't come out. So again, this is a very nice reading for black, but when white cuts here, it's the same problem, actually. As white is threatening, not that black would go here, but the idea is black now cannot capture this cutting stone. So black actually goes here. Yeah, this move I'm very confused by because I'm not sure why black was valuing these two stones highly. Like I would just not do, well obviously there's a problem here so you need a fix, but I wouldn't even be considering saving these two stones. I just don't see the value. So when black goes there, I can cut. Black Ataris, and then has to connect. But I'm able to save here. So what happens is I end up cutting off the entire upper left, which is quite massive, I must say. It's quite massive. Yeah. So, yeah, I felt very confident at this point. At least I was struggling early on, but now I'm starting to feel like, okay, now we're starting to get to a game. But there's still a lot left. Still a lot left. So black saves here, obviously. Now you can see, okay, black actually has a huge center developing. But I can stand up. And this stand up, you can see, starts to threaten some throw-in. So black goes here. Starts to threaten Atari, this kind of thing. Now, there's still a ko, but that's a ko that's quite dangerous for black. But similarly, if I just throw in now and try to fight this ko, I don't have any ko threats. Black takes. Yeah, nothing's quite big enough. Even black can answer this once because, once again, black has a local threat in the upper left now. Okay, take. And even with that, if we do something like this, black can even connect once and say, nope, you have no more threats. Which is true. Even though I can Atari, I have no threats. So similarly to earlier, when you don't have enough threats, you don't have to start the ko. You can play as if you've started the ko, but not actually start the ko. Hopefully that makes sense. So there's kind of the threat of the ko, which is good enough to start making ko threats, I should say. So attach. So again, if black fixes, the idea is I haven't thrown in, I haven't used all this aji here. So, yeah. So black goes there. And then Hane. Since Hane is smart, if I block, the idea is black has already prevented me from connecting, so black could just come on top. Even if I cut like this, black is pushing me down. This is very good for black. Because again, look at that center. Look at that center. But the problem with it is it's left this cut. So I throw in. And black taking might seem like a mistake because you might be like, oh, well, force white to make a co-threat. And then answer. And then come back and take. That's what you would like to think, but in this case, if you take first, white can connect here, which is not a co. You have to take, and then white can capture here. Again, this would be disastrous. So black takes, Atari, play there, so now I can cut. And here, I think it's good enough for black to actually just take here. Because even if Atari connect, I have to play from this side, and in doing so, black can seal off with something like this. And there's a lot of potential in the center, right? Like, can white live? Potentially, but black hasn't lost too much on the lower side. You'll see what happens is black actually loses quite a bit on the lower side because black answers, take, fill, okay. Atari, yes. And then black has a local threat. And part of me wanted to just take, because this is giant. But the problem is, so is the upper left, and I've given up so much Aji on the lower side. So I had to answer and play there. And then I threw in. And this is when I realized my mistake in my reading. Is yes, if black answers this and then I take here, there's no threat big enough. Like, there's just nothing. Right? I'm too solid everywhere else for there to be any threats. So black, of course, answers. What I did not realize was black answering, or black filling the co, creates co-threats in and of itself. So, okay, we fight this co, right? Well, black can cut here as a co-threat. Right? I probably want to answer that. Otherwise, black saves the tail, and then I have to worry about life and death on the upper side. And if I answer this, that's 1 threat, 2 threats, 3 threats, 4 threats, right? There's so many co-threats there. Which, again, look at this board. Do I have 3 or 4 co-threats? No. No. So, yeah. Black in the game went here, but black had threats at H18 that I had to answer. This made it very easy for me to just fill. And so you can see, if black gave up the co earlier, if we look at this variation, you can see black doesn't have stones on the first, second line. Black saves these stones. These stones are strong. So that's why I think black could have given up earlier as opposed to having all this. Yeah, like, see these stones here and these stones, they're not as useful as they could be. And yeah, black goes here. I think locally it's a good move, but I really get the feeling that black can just cover like this and try to make the right side as big as possible. Because, again, it is scary, but, like, you got to be confident that you can kill and or really attack this group. Because again, whereas white has no friends nearby and black has a lot of thickness. So, yeah, this might be like playing on the inside of your potential. So, yeah. In this case, it might be okay, but in general, you want to try to make things as big as possible. Yeah. Because if black has to seal off again eventually anyways, like, this stone looks a little weird, right? If you have to play at M5 eventually anyways, so I invade the 3-3. Here, this makes sense because I'm solid on the left, solid on the bottom, so let's come in. And here I think black can just simply block and just try to live locally. Yeah, even if you do this Hane and you play this kind of variation, like, you weren't thinking about attacking the left side anyway. So if you just give up the stone and be like, okay, I'm alive in the lower left, it's good enough for black. In the game, black goes here, but then when I play this one, the corner is actually quite big. And now you have to run to the center. Thankfully, of course, though, black has all the stones in the center, so that's good. So black jumps. Yeah, this is the right idea, but in this case, it leaves behind a lot of bad aji. So black really wants to just jump. If I wedge, black can just fix like this. No problems. Black goes here, so I hane. Black covers, hane here, extend, and then cut. And this is the aji I was referring to. This aji is very nasty. It's very, very nasty. These stones here only have 2 liberties. And these stones are low on liberties. There's a cut here. It's very dangerous for black. So that's why playing this move is what I recommend. Play there, yep. And then cut. So black Ataris, but then comes back because black has to go there. But then I can cut. And so I can cut. Black has to jump. I stand up. Black fixes and then cover. And all of a sudden, white takes the entire lower left. Just like that. Crazy. It's crazy. But black did seal off the right side. So look at this game all of a sudden. This game, who do you think's winning? It is quite close, isn't it? It is quite close. So black tries to go here. Again, it's a nice idea, but when you have so many stones nearby, I can just bump like this. And this move threatens to connect under, or obviously push through here. So black pushes and cuts. Again, it's a nice ASCII move, but I can Atari here. And then black covers off the last piece of the puzzle, basically. So then all of a sudden we're in endgame. Push. And then cover. Yeah, here, this is a long read, but basically there's some bad aji. If I play some move like N2, black could do this, which is Sente, and then try to Atari here. There's not anything really there if you do it that way. So, but there is aji here, so what should black have done? Black should start with this move, because this move is still threatening to play L6. If white takes like somewhere here, it's snapback. Okay, so what if white captures? Well, now black can extend here, or connect here. White has to fill here, and then push. Yeah, what's the aji here? So you can cut, and if cut, you have to take. There's no other option. And then here, look, that forces black to play here. And now there's some aji in the lower left. Yeah, see, black can make kind of a ko-ish shape like this. And so this has a lot of potential to backfire for white. So that's why I fixed here. And black went here. Again, if you think about efficiency, obviously there is a weakness here, but black can fix that by just blocking. Even though I can cut, you can play like some peep move like this, and you're probably going to be okay. I say probably because there is some aji. Stand up, play here. You have to go here. Like, there is some aji for white to make something here, but again, when you're so strong, moves like this that usually don't work just work. So yeah, I think black should be confident that black can handle anything here. By connecting, you fix somewhere you didn't have to fix, and later white can take M6, so it's like a 2-point loss. So I play there, and then yeah, we're in endgame, and the game ends. What move we have? 150? Yeah, the game ends in 20 moves. So this is what can happen when you have a very fight-oriented game where there's a lot of weak groups around. is games can end quickly because you have white taking the left side and black taking the right side, basically. So the question is, who do you think won this game? Who do you think won this game? Because we are just an endgame at this point, and it's very close. It's very close. And again, earlier on, I just want to point out how I was like, yeah, I was treating the right side stones lightly. Yeah, look, I just gave them up. Just treated them lightly. So that's why you want to kind of treat stones lightly, not expect to save all your stones. Back goes there, and then Atari, and then yeah. And then pass. And so what was the final result? What do you, really quickly in the comments, put who you think won this game. Because this kind of game, as opposed to having a lot of small groups worth like, okay, this is 10 points, this is 15 points. This is like, okay, black has a huge territory worth 100 plus points, and white has a huge territory worth 100 plus points. So it's hard to count, basically. The question is, who won this game? So the victor by 1.5 points was black. So black won by 1.5 points. And to give credit to my student, this is the first game they beat me with 6 stones. So very strong for a 4Q. Very strong for a 4Q. Black played very well this game. And the thing I like that black did is black seemingly didn't get razzled when they lost some stones, right? When like the upper left got cut off, it seemed like black was just like, okay, I'll just take the outside. And same thing in the lower left. When these stones started to get cut off on the lower left, black didn't panic. Black just said, okay, I'll just take the outside. And so I like black's mentality of just sacrificing, because sacrificing is a big key in Go. So if you can learn to accept sacrificing, you're going to become a lot stronger. So I said earlier that I would talk about kind of the big takeaways for this game. The big takeaways were Ko's, knowing, okay, do I have enough Ko threats to fight this Ko good enough? And again, I could be like, okay, I'm playing a 4Q. I'm playing somebody, according to this ranking system, 10 stones weaker than me, or 9 ranks weaker, 10 or 9 ranks weaker. I'll fight this Ko and assume they won't see the Ko threats, right? I could play that way, but again, that's not going to help me get better. It's not going to help my students get better either. So when you're playing, assume your opponent sees everything you see. It's going to make you a much more disciplined player. So like even at the end, I was joking with them. Oh, I wonder if I can live in the center. But if I don't think I could live in the center against somebody my level, then I'm not going to try against somebody weaker than me. So just keep that in mind too. Always be an honest Go player. At least as much as you can. But yeah, super fun game. Super short game too. Again, only 169 moves. But that's what happens when you just divide up the board like this. So yeah, I thought this was a fun game to look at, to review. And even when I started this game, like playing it, I had already like told myself, yeah, I want to review this game. It just so happened that this game ended up being quite fun to look at. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the game too. If you have any questions about the game, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video.